Good afternoon, everyone. Virgo, you said something or noticed something or asked something that produced a reaction in someone who was not expecting you to see what you saw or to know what you seemed to know or to name what you named with the particular precision of someone who is seeing clearly rather than guessing. And the reaction that was produced was not casual. You hit the nail on the head, and they felt it in the specific and physical way that being accurately seen. When you were counting on not being seen is felt, which is like the floor moving under someone who was standing on the assumption that the floor was stable and would remain so because no one was looking closely enough to see what the floor was actually made of. You looked closely enough and you saw welcome, and let me tell you everything that is happening in them right now because of what you saw and what you said about it, or what you're seeing communicated, even without the words, to someone who was not prepared to be seen that accurately by you in this moment. They are sweating bullets. Let me describe what that actually means from the inside of the experience. Because sweating bullets is not just a colorful description of someone who is uncomfortable. It is the specific physical and psychological state of someone whose cover has been compromised without them having had time to prepare or arrange an alternative narrative or organize their response into the managed form that would allow them to navigate the exposure without revealing more than they intended, which is, in this case, everything. The specific physical state of someone whose cover has been compromised is a state of heightened and uncomfortable alertness where the body responds to the threat of full exposure with the same chemistry that it uses for physical threats, because the organism does not distinguish between the threat of physical danger and the threat of the thing being hidden becoming visible to someone who's seeing has the potential to change everything. They are in that state right now because of what you said or did or simply noticed with the particular and unsettling accuracy that intuition provides when it is operating clearly as yours apparently was. In the moment, you hit the nail on the head. I want to tell you what the secret life looks like from the inside of the person living it, because I think understanding it will help you understand not just what they were hiding, but why and what the hiding has cost them, as well as what it cost you. To be in relationship with someone who was operating a secret life alongside the one they were showing you, a secret life is exhausting. I want to say that first, because it is the thing that most people who are not living one do not fully appreciate about what it actually requires of the person maintaining it, the maintaining requires constant attention to what is being said and what is not being said, and who knows what and what they know about what others know, and what the overlap is between the different people and the different stories and the different versions of reality that are being presented to the different people who are each receiving only the portion of reality that serves the maintaining of the secret rather than the full picture that would make the secret impossible to continue. That constant attention is exhausting in the specific way of something that never fully stops requiring effort. Because the moment the effort stops, even briefly, the risk of exposure increases. And so the effort cannot stop. For as long as the secret continues to require maintaining, they have been exhausted by this. For longer than you may have known that there was something to be exhausted by. Because the exhaustion itself was something they were hiding as part of the maintaining of the overall secret. That required the exhaustion to also be hidden, so that the exhaustion did not become a question. That produced an inquiry. That got too close to the thing. The exhaustion was produced by... Now I want to describe what is happening in them. In the immediate aftermath of what you said, or did, or noticed, that hit the nail on the head with the precision that it hit it. The first thing happening is the assessment, the rapid and anxious assessment of what exactly, based on what you said and how you said it and what the saying implied about the full extent of your awareness of what has been happening in the life they were not showing you. How much do you know is the primary question running on a loop in their mind right now with the particular urgency of someone who needs to know the answer before they can decide what to do next in the situation that you're seeing has just created in the dynamic between you. The assessment is running. Every word you said is being reviewed. Every tone, every implication, every possible piece of information that might have informed the accuracy of what you said is being cataloged and evaluated in the rapid and anxious way of someone who is trying to understand the full extent of their exposure before deciding how to respond to it. The second thing happening is the calculation. What can be managed from here? What can be explained away? What can be reframed or recontextualized or presented in a way that makes what you saw seem less accurate or more explainable or less significant than the nail on the head quality of what you said is suggesting that they are calculating. Whether there is a version of this that can still be managed into something other than the full exposure of everything that has been hidden, or whether what you said has created a situation where the managing is no longer possible in the form it was possible before, when the secret was still fully intact and the exposure was only theoretical rather than actual as it is now. In the aftermath of what you said, the third thing happening is fear, the specific fear of what full exposure means for the specific things that the secret was protecting in their life, whatever those things are, in the specific configuration of their specific situation. Everyone who maintains a secret life is protecting something they value, or something they fear losing, or something they have not found a way to have openly, and so are having secretly in the particular and complicated way that secret having works when the thing being had cannot be acknowledged in the life that is being presented as the complete picture of a person's reality. What they are protecting is now threatened by what you said, and the fear of losing what was being protected is the dominant feeling in the sweating bullets that your hitting of the nail on the head has produced. Whew. I want to speak now about the nature of what was being kept secret in more specific terms, because understanding the nature of it will help you understand not just what they were doing, but who they were being in the parts of their life that were not visible to you, and what that means for who they actually are as a whole. The secret life was a parallel existence, not in the dramatic sense of a completely constructed alternative identity, living in a separate geography with separate people who know nothing of the main story, though it may have elements of that, but in the more common and perhaps more insidious sense of a version of themselves that they allow to exist in certain contexts and certain conversations and certain relationships. That is not the version they show in others, including in the context of you and what they show you. The secret life is the gap between what they show and what they do. When the showing is not required and the doing can happen without witness from the people whose perception of them they are actively managing, that gap is what your intuition found and named in the conversation or moment where you hit the nail on the head without perhaps fully knowing the specific contents of the gap, but reading the gap itself accurately enough to produce the sweating bullets that is currently happening. I want to describe the internal experience of maintaining a gap like this over time, because I think understanding what it costs the person maintaining it will give you important context for how to think about what you have discovered and what it means for the dynamic between you. Living with a significant gap between what you show and what you do produces a particular kind of internal fracture where the person doing the maintaining must hold two contradictory self-images simultaneously. The self-image they present and the self-image that corresponds to the secret side of what they are actually doing, holding those two self-images simultaneously requires a significant allocation of internal resource to the management of the contradiction, and produces, over time, a particular kind of internal noise that the person maintaining the gap has to live alongside every day without it being fully visible to the people around them, who are only receiving the presented self-image rather than the full contradiction, that the presented self-image is in tension with this noise. This internal friction is part of what has been present in the dynamic between you without you always knowing what was producing it, or that it was there in the background of every interaction you had with someone who was managing more than you knew they were managing, because I have been describing what is happening in them, and I want to give equal attention to what is happening for you and what you need to do with what you have apparently accessed through your intuition or your observation, or whatever combination of both produced the hitting of the nail on the head. In this specific situation, the first thing I want to say is trust what you saw, because the sweating bullets is confirmation of what you thought you knew. The reaction of someone whose cover has been compromised is itself evidence of the accuracy of what compromised it. People do not sweat bullets about things that did not land, or that were not accurate, or that missed the target they were apparently aimed at. The sweating bullets is the nail confirming that it went all the way in, which means what you said was accurate, in the specific and direct form of something that found what it was looking for, rather than passing beside it or glancing off the surface without penetrating to what was underneath. Trust that, and trust the intuition that produced it as the reliable instrument it apparently is for the specific kind of reading of people and situations that produced this accuracy. In this specific case, I also want to say something about what your intuition actually is in this context, because I think it deserves more than a passing acknowledgement as the thing that produced the accuracy, that produced the sweating bullets, that confirmed the accuracy. Your intuition is not magic, or at least not only magic, it is the accumulated reading of everything you have observed about this person over the entire time you have known them. The small inconsistencies that did not quite line up between what was said and what was done, the moments where the energy was slightly different from what the words were describing, the specific quality of presence or absence in moments where the full presence or absence did not match what was being presented. All of those accumulated observations were being processed below the level of conscious awareness by the part of you that reads people more accurately than the conscious mind, which is too busy with the presented version of events to always register what is inconsistent with it. And that accumulated processing eventually produced the intuitive knowledge that you expressed in the moment you hit the nail on the head, not as a guess, not as a suspicion, as knowledge, that arrived complete enough to be named accurately without needing the conscious evidence to support it first. Your perception has been reliable this whole time. In both the things, it registered consciously. And the things it was processing below that level until this moment, when the below level processing produced something specific enough to surface into conscious awareness and be said with the accuracy it was said with. Trust that perception going forward. It has been working accurately for longer than you may have been giving it full credit for. Is decide what you want to do with what you know before they have had enough time to organize their response into the managed and calculated form that the assessment and the calculation that are currently running in them will eventually produce. Right now, they are in the genuine and unmanaged state of someone who was hit before they could prepare and whose reaction is therefore more honest than the reaction they would produce if you gave them time to prepare and come back to you with the managed version of their response to what you said. If there is more you want to know, now is the time. When the assessment and calculation have not yet produced the alternative narrative, that will be more difficult to penetrate than the state they are in right now, where the cover is still compromised. And the genuine reaction is more accessible than it will be once the preparation has had time to produce the managed version. And the third thing I want to say is about what the secret life means for your understanding of the connection between you and this person, because I think that is the most important thing to sit with in the aftermath of having accessed something that was being hidden from you. There was a version of this person that you were not being shown, and the connection between you was happening. In the context of that incomplete picture, which means some of the decisions you made within the connection were made with incomplete information about who you were in connection with. That is important information about the connection itself, about what it was actually built on, and about what it would look like with the full picture available rather than only the presented portion of it. Take the time you need to understand what you now know about what was actually happening in the connection that was presenting itself to you as one thing while being another thing in the dimensions you were not being shown. And then decide what you want to do with the connection given the full picture that you now have access to in a way you did not before. Your intuition hit the nail and gave you information that is now yours to act on in whatever way serves you best. Given what the full picture reveals, they are sweating bullets because you saw something that they were counting on you not seeing. And the seeing has changed the configuration of the dynamic between you in a way that cannot be unchanged. by anything they say or do now. In response to having been seen, the seeing has already happened, and its implications are already in motion in both directions, in them and in you. What they do next is an open question that only the full exposure of what they were hiding and their response to that exposure will answer. What you do next is yours to decide. From the full information that the hitting of the nail on the head has provided in the specific and accurate form of your own intuition, operating clearly in the direction of the truth that was being hidden from you, trust the intuition, use the information it produced, and decide from the full picture. You hit the nail on the head, which means you already knew what you needed to know before anyone confirmed it. That knowing has always been available to you. Trust it going forward. The way you apparently trusted it when you said what you said and hit exactly what you were aiming at